You heard my segment on CNN yesterday, so I was on 2 days in a row. And look, here's the bottom line. And I said this on CNN Tuesday night. I said it again Wednesday afternoon. All of the conservatives that are going crazy over Trump's meeting and talking about him selling out and not building the wall and all that, it is totally ridiculous. It is a waste of your time, because I said this 2 times. I'm going to say it again. Talk is cheap, play the game. Trump played everybody in this meeting. He is a negotiator and a posturer. And he brought everybody in and he put it on camera, and everybody said, yeah, we want this. Sure, no problem. You know, what was her name? Senator Feinstein, DiFi, says, well, Mr. President, we want a clean DACA bill. Sure, no problem. You know what it reminds me of? Right? Johnny Five Fingers. What was it? Johnny Five Fingers in The Godfather. Remember? Johnny Five Fingers, or Johnny Five Angels. That was it. Johnny Five Angels. And he was testifying on the Hill and decided that he was not going to turn in Don Corleone and not turn evidence on him. And so they brought him in. He wouldn't talk, and they kept asking him questions. And did you do this? And did you do that? He said, sure, no problem. Yeah, maybe I said that. I had a few drinks. Sure, no problem. That was Trump's position. You want this? Sure, I'll look at that. You want this? Yeah, we'll look at that. Whatever you're going to do, we're going to look at it. But here's the bottom line what this president did, right? He said, I'm going to sign the legislation that comes in front of me. That's brilliantly done. You know how he did that? He did that to pressure Republicans who are in control of the legislation to give him something that he can sign that is palatable to his base, which is us, or me, certainly, and many of our listeners. Because if they give him legislation that causes him to sell his base out, they will lose power. President Trump was 2 steps ahead of everybody in that meeting. And this is what I've been trying to say for the last 2 days, and all the people like, you know, Steve Deese that was debating yesterday, and all these conservatives and Coulter going crazy. You don't get it. You don't get this guy. He put an inordinate amount of pressure on Republican leadership to bring him back comprehensive immigration reform that he could sign that will not alienate or demotivate his base, which is the only hope the Republicans have of maintaining power in 2018, is if the Trump base turns out. Because if they do not, they're losing power. Many of them are not going to lose in safe districts, but they will not be in the majority. So there'll be no Kevin McCarthy as majority leader. There'll be no Speaker Ryan. There'll be no Senate Majority Leader McConnell. There'll be no power couple. All of that goes away if they bring the president a bill that he has to sign or veto because it doesn't motivate his base and dispirits them. And the only thing that would do that is an amnesty bill without a wall and without clear legislation reform. Look, let me break this down for you. I thought what Trump did on Tuesday was sheer brilliance. And nobody can see it but a handful of us. Because what he did is he set the stage like he did on taxes. He set the stage for comprehensive legislative, not executive orders, legislative immigration policy, U.S. policy reform that can stand for 50 years, just like he did in reforming the tax code. Historic. And he laid out, he said immigration reform is going to concentrate on 4 issues right now. 1, border security. You have to secure the border. This has been consistent with what he said since he came down the escalator. This includes adding personnel, following the law, arresting people who come across legally, sending them back. These are laws on the books. We just need the people to follow them and enforce them. It includes new technology, drones, satellites, whatever, and a wall. There will be no DACA deal without money for a wall. None. And the Democrats can't win this argument. I'll tell you why. Because all of the Democrats who say we don't need a wall, then my response back to them is, so if you don't need it, what's the downside? Well, it's going to cost too much money. Okay, let's take our 5,000 troops out of Afghanistan. We're even. I mean, don't tell me about money when you have voted for every debt increase since Obama got there, going from 8 trillion to 20 trillion. So don't tell me, and Solyndra and shovel ready and all that nonsense. You voted for it all. So if you don't think the wall is going to work and you want open borders and you don't think it's going to work, what's the downside? Do it. That's number one. Number two, we're going to end chain migration, which is a disaster for America. End chain migration, which means somebody comes in and then everybody else comes in their family. 3, we're going to eliminate the visa lottery scam system, which is a complete scam. And number 4, we're going to have to make a deal on DACA, right? So that's the deal we make. We got 11 million kids here now. Their parents brought them illegally. I'm not for amnesty, but I also understand the political reality of what is going on. And so if the president is given an opportunity to transform our immigration laws in this country, to secure the southern border and stop the flow of illegal and cheap labor from coming in, end chain migration, end the visa lottery system, if he could just do those 3 things, and then along with that, the concession is going to be permanent status for the 11 million people in the United States who came as children whose parents brought them. That is amnesty. You can spin it, call it whatever you want. It's amnesty. Their parents broke the law. But is that not a deal as a Trump supporter? And I am a hardliner on immigration. I believe it's been the root of our wage decrease and everything else. So are you willing to accept that? If you can get real long-term legislative immigration reform that ends chain, that ends the lottery system, and that gives you a wall. And once you get the funding to start the wall and you start building the wall, I don't care if it's a mile, 10 miles, 20 miles. You now have a system in place to keep going forward. Trump played these people brilliantly, and it's like I'm the only guy in the media that figured this out. And you know why? Because I know him, and I said that on CNN yesterday. I know the guy. I've been following him. He's been fighting these same battles with us and others for 30 years. I saw exactly what he did. It was brilliant. And then they're saying, oh, he did this to prove that he can have a meeting for 60 minutes without eating a cheeseburger and putting on CNN or Fox News or like the Cartoon Channel or whatever they mock him on. How do you think this guy built his business? By not being able to have a meeting? I've been in meetings with him. He sits there. He has a meeting. Runs a company. It's stupid. The whole thing is asinine. These people are looking ridiculous by saying this. So here, any deal on DACA must end chain migration, eliminate the visa lottery, and fully secure the border, including a wall. That's going to be the deal made. And so if the Democrats are so concerned about these 11 million young people here in the country that came as children, then why wouldn't you do that? Let me just ask you this. Why wouldn't you be in favor of securing the border? If you're a Democrat right now, unless you're an open borders Democrat that wants cheap votes, or an open borders Republican who is getting money from the mega donor class because they want to decrease wages by shipping in low-wage immigrant slave trade network labor, why would you not be for securing the border and following the U.S. laws? What would be your argument, except if you want to transform the country like Obama, bring all these people in, put them on welfare, and collapse our system so that we can go to some kind of a one-world government or something? Why would you not be in favor of this? I mean, what would be the argument against, no, I don't want to secure the border. I want people to keep breaking the law. I mean, who would not be in favor of this? Ending chain migration. Okay, there might be some Democrats who say, you know what, I think if one person comes in, they ought to be able to bring in their cousin, their friends, grandma, grandpa, grandma's cousin, papa's cousin's brother-in-law, and it goes on and on and on. I guess some people would be in favor of that. I'm not. I'm in favor of a merit-based system. I believe in immigration. I believe it should be merit-based, like our good friends in Australia and Canada. You just can't get in there. Merit-based. They bring in the people they need. Doesn't make any sense. who's not in favor of eliminating the crazy visa scam lottery system? That's nuts. You can just get in the country because you're picked out of a hat? No vetting? That's crazy. So the trade-off is simple. You have to make a deal on amnesty for those that are here now. Now, Reagan did it in 86, but he didn't get any legislation. So the deal was empty. We got the amnesty, nothing happened, no security, no change. Reagan got rolled, and we got screwed. Trump is not going to let this happen again. So Ann Coulter and everybody else can go crazy and jump up and down on TV and send tweets out about, Trump broke his word on DACA. He's got to govern. He's got a one-seat majority of Republicans in the U.S. Senate, and that's flimsy. You still got Jeff Flake, you got McCain, you got Corker, you still got people in there who don't buy into anything he's doing. So you don't have the votes. I mean, what do you expect him to do? Shut the government down? Think about it. If you're able to trade off this deferred action situation with the kids who came here whose parents broke the law, if you can swallow that, and I can swallow it, and I'm as hardline on immigration as anybody you're going to see on the air. You know that. If you can swallow that, and in return for that, we get a wall, security, ending chain migration, and eliminating the visa lottery system, and we do it legislatively, so it can't be changed with an executive order. It has to be changed with a new law that now has to be debated to go back to these things. This becomes a permanent legislative solution, and this president is the only person who can drive this. Because if Jeb Bush was in there or Marco Rubio and they're talking about love and this and that and all this nonsense, right? Conservatives like me would be very suspect that he was going to sell us out. Trump is not going to sell us out on this issue because it is the core of what he believes. It's like Richard Nixon when he went to China. Right? If Johnson went to China or Kennedy went to China or Carter went to China, all conservatives who are hardline anti-communists like me would have been very suspect of it. He couldn't have pulled it off. But somebody like Richard Nixon, who had been as ardent and anti-communist as there was at the time in American politics in 3 decades, he goes to China. We trust him because we know what his belief system is. And that's really the bottom line in this meeting. I trust this president that he is not going to sell out his core beliefs on immigration. And when the people on CNN are telling me, nobody knows what he believes. What does he believe in? Steve Deese and the other never-Trumper Republicans. Nobody knows what he believes. He says whatever comes to mind. Because you don't take the time to understand what he believes. I know exactly what he believes. And he's laid these out. He's laid them out. He's laid the gauntlet down. And he's told Kevin McCarthy and Paul Girl Scout leader Ryan, who, by the way, has to go. I can't wait till he's out of there. But McCarthy, Ryan, McConnell, he's told them, bring me back Bob Goodlatte, who's now putting in a bill, did exactly what Trump said. Good for Goodlatte. He said exactly this. Bring me legislation, I'll sign it. But under that, you have to figure out that what he said is, you're in control. You run the committees. Bring me legislation that if I sign, we can still win in November of 2018. Because if you don't and I sign it, guess what? You're out of power. Democrats will kick our ass. Why? Because they're on a roll right now. They're leading in all the polls, and this will dispirit my base, who is your only chance of holding on to power, whether you like me or not. That was the brilliance of Trump. Right now, he holds the cards on Republicans, because if the Trump base doesn't show up like they didn't show up in Virginia in 2017, the Republicans have zero chance of maintaining power in the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate. And I don't care how many seats are up for Democrats in the Senate. You can't name me one seat right now that the Republicans do not have in the Senate one Democratic seat that is guaranteed to flip to the Republicans. Not one, including Joe Manchin. He's ahead in the polls. They're going to pick anything up. If the election were held today, they lose everything. So, Trump's message, I thought, was pure political genius. Brilliant. Get me something that I can sign, and let's fix the problem like I fixed tax reform. John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth. Stay with us.